Okay, let's call to order this meeting of the Montara Water and Sanitary District Board of Directors. It's February 19th. It is 7:40 p.m. We have a roll call, please.
Director Slater-Carter.
Present.
Director Harvey.
Here.
Director Boyd.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here.
Director Huber.
Here.
All right. I have no president's statement tonight. Do we have any oral comments for items not on the agenda?
I do.
Catherine?
Thank you. Next door, Montara, there has been a discussion series about a home, actually, I believe it was an ex-board member, whose house was robbed. And somebody in an orange shirt came up and said they were from the water district, and the water had a putrid smell, and he had her run the water in the sink, and then he had her take him outside and he had her hold the hose. This was a very elderly woman.
Is Eric Shapiro's mother?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that story.
And their house was ransacked, and items of immense personal value as well as some monetary value were stolen, and it was a terrible thing. I have also heard that this happened in Pacifica. Somebody claiming to be from the water district there. So for anybody who is watching this, if somebody comes to your house claiming to be from the water district, and you don't, particularly if you don't see the Montara Water and Sanitary District truck right there, thank them, lock the door, and call the district and get verification. Because this apparently has been going on. These guys were apparently driving a Cadillac Escalade, not our car, and
It did not be.
but they go into neighborhoods and they drive an Escalade or some nicer car, so and sort of scope the neighborhood out. So please be careful. There are bad guys out there, and they have done a terrible thing to one of our community members. So please, if there is a problem, call the district, and if the district says, gee, we're not sure, say, well, then, come back later. I want to confirm with the district again before you come to my house. We have very set policies and procedures, and they don't involve coming up to your door and saying, gee, our water's terrible. So just a heads up that there are desperate people out there, and they will take advantage of the folks in our community. Thank you.
Okay, any other oral comments? Seeing none. Let's move to old business item 1, review and possible action concerning adoption of strategic plan.
So this is actually the only item that we have on the agenda tonight. So it's almost going to be a workshop, I think. We have talked about this many times already at the regular scheduled agendized meetings. We also had
Excuse me.
two board workshops about this topic, and we had a public hearing. Now, Martin Rao prepared the strategic plan for the district, and I just want to hand this essentially over to him, and he can present what we've put together. And we're going to walk through this, I think, step by step, page by page, and go through this, I think, pretty much in detail, and hopefully bring this item to conclusion today.
Good. All right. Well, I think Clemens introduced it. This is an opportunity to remember what you did, and if there are comments, sometimes there are, it's a chance to make comments, make changes if you choose, or just accept it as it is. A typical approach is to, even if there are some changes, to give direction to the manager to make them and accept it, make those changes so it can be done. But you can do as you choose, obviously. Clemens put it, or it got into your packet in an order with the work plan in the front, the table, the spreadsheet looking thing. But if you flip past that, I'd like to actually look at the more written part of the plan that starts with this cover. I think yours is in color, so yeah, just
Yes.
get to that. vacation spot where you guys live. I'm not going to suggest that we literally go over every page. If you have comments on anything, if you've read it and want to comment, please stop us. I want to personally point out a few things that I think are worth noting or reminding us of. And of course, if you have anything to discuss or bring up, just speak up and we'll have a little discussion here. I'd like to start on the page that started numbered page 7, the lower right-hand corner. It says Plan Development, Strategic Planning Process, and it's 7 in the lower corner. And it, the front end has, I think, a traditional process that you expected from the beginning. Some research. You directed that there be a pretty large number of interviews. I didn't go back and count by memory. It's like 26 or something. They're all written there, who they are. Not only the board and some staff, but quite a few folks in the community, especially from neighboring agencies and different leaders in the community, and a couple of customers who were selected more or less at random, but a bigger one and a smaller customer, someone who uses more and less, etc. They were incredibly interesting for me. I found a lot of times I have a handful of interviews and I start to really just hear the same thing, but I heard all sorts of points of view, kind of complex. Then the 2 board planning workshops that you participated in, you'll remember those, and a very interesting community meeting that I think was a little bit unique. I participated in a lot of such meetings. You had a crowd of 70 folks there. I don't remember which ones, who among you were there. Scott, you were there, Kath? Okay. I thought it was incredibly interesting. We'll look at some of their results. It was, for a community of this size, a large crowd, in my experience, and one that came loaded with a lot of thoughts and ideas. I saw a good number of people with notes. They walked in having prepared to some degree, which is also a little bit unique. And usually you only get a crowd when you have people who are angry. I would say that was not the case. They just had something to say, they wanted to be there, and they wanted to give their input. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Then I've been working with Clemens at different intervals on the work plan, the spreadsheet, which is his answer to all your policy direction. What does he suggest that he should be doing to achieve it? And we'll look at that in a little bit of detail. Unless you want to say anything about that, let's turn the page to 8, which looks like it's this Rating the District Today page.
Wait a minute.
So that's 10, page 10.
Oh, you call
Okay.
it 10, sorry.
Well, yeah, in here, it's called Development Plan on page 8.
Okay, somehow I ended up with something slightly different, but it says Rating the District Today, and there's
Okay.
like a little
That's on page 10.
table there. Okay, page 10. The way this thing works is, if you look at the first one that says administration, there's an average, which is just an average of the numbers below it, the 9, 9, and the 8. And that just shows how many of you voted for something. We went through a process where we asked you to rate whatever you wanted to rate. Sometimes when just one person rates something, you get whatever number, but I think it's sometimes interesting to look at where people rated a lot, like rates in finance. And I know you're looking at rates in finance, but quite a number of you voted for that. But the one thing I want to point out is a little below that, where it says customer service, stakeholder support, and customer relations. That one right about here. The one below it, intergovernmental relations, and then staff to board communication. All those are communication ones, and a fair amount of emphasis on that issue of communication in its various dimensions. The rest are a little bit random, and I think not really surprising based on the rest of what we heard. But I would notice that communication thing came up, and we'll see it some more in a little bit. Let's turn the page. Challenges and opportunities. This is quite a pile right here still. We were discussing things, and this is a summary of your conversation about the different challenges facing the district in the future. We took those conversations and all those notes, put them into some categories. You had some of these categories, and we fine-tuned some of them and put these bullets that kind of summarize the points being made. I don't have anything in particular to draw out here. This is where we're still just kind of throwing ideas out and starting to talk about things. you'll see most of these topics appear later in the final report. The next page, though, I do want to talk about a little bit. The one called Plan Development Priority Issues. We have another rating, and this was, tell us what's your number one priority, each of you. So the first one that says water rate structure and rates, 3 of you said that should be the top priority. And then finances, rates, and economic health right below it, 1 person said that should be a top priority, and 1 person said it should be a second priority. And you just kind of go down from there. One thing that I think is a little bit interesting down here is, if you go down about 3/4 of the page, there's an item, effective intergovernmental relationships. Even though those were 3s, 4s, and a 5, they were slightly lower. It got the most votes of anything. And there was a lot of talk about this idea of intergovernmental relationships and trying to, work on that as an area of interest. And it will show up in the plan. It's a little difficult because it depends on, it's a relationship, it depends on a two-way street. You can't totally control that, but it was an area of interest for you, for the board. And if you go above it, the other one that I think caught my attention was maybe about in the middle of the page, developing and maintaining the sources and quality of water. You'll see that in the actual work plan, a lot of stuff on that. That one got also 4 votes, which was a little bit on the high side, even though the average wasn't right there at number 1. And you can see the rest of these. You can, if you want, you can go back and look at the final plan and see. Clemens did end up, I think, when he looked at the reality, we'll get there in a minute, of what he needs to do to get different jobs done. Some things maybe got prioritized above or below these based on sort of the reality in the world and what's happening. Turning the page to the input from the community forum, there were an awful lot of notes, and Clemens put the voting thing up there. That was from the community meeting.
Wait a minute, where are we?
It's the next page.
No, it's not.
Oh, something
We've
happened.
got something that says the strategic plan, and then we've got mission, vision for the future,
Maybe something didn't
goals of
copyright.
finance.
Let's see. On my page, it's right after. So
Which page are you looking for?
it's called Plan Development Input from Community Forum. It's got a little picture of the little postcard that happened. Maybe
I
it's
don't see it.
I don't see
I
it.
think we might not have received this version.
We might have a different version. Okay. Well, we'll need to deal with that. I do have it up here if you want to. I covered the cover right there. There's a little slide. Yeah, just slide that. Oh, I think it. Oh no, there it is. I just got to scroll. I got to scroll.
You're fine, all right? What?
March 1st.
Oh, okay. So it should be okay, right? Yeah, good timing on your part, I think. Sorry, I can't make it.
Oh well. Okay. Well, we'll need to make sure that gets straightened out. I'm not sure what happened.
About the guy that's-
You had seen this same table at your last workshop, but you may not remember it, or I don't remember how much time we spent on it. You can see the question that was asked. It was the last question of the workshop, I believe. And it was 5, 10 or more years into the future. If you were granted power over the district, what 3 things would you change or keep the same? And the group offered all these different ideas to vote on. No consolidation, develop community parks district, develop our own internet service, all the way down. And at first we just put up the ideas before we voted. So someone said no consolidation, someone said develop a park district, someone said water quantity, whatever, all those different things. Then we gave each person, I believe, 5 stickers or some number of stickers, and they could go up and vote however they wanted. And you can see on these sheets of paper, that's how they voted. So even though some people picked, for instance, governance quality, you can see way over there, nobody voted for it. You know, even though someone brought it up, they didn't even vote for it themselves once they saw the list. And if you were there, and if you had heard the discussions, for those of you who didn't, I thought it was a pretty surprising and powerful display about the district. A strong majority picked no consolidation. I don't think that was even much of a topic as far as the district was concerned. I don't remember how that got there.
But excuse me, so,
Yeah.
so these votes, 35 is the people in
Yeah.
the meeting.
Yeah,
voted
35
for this.
in the meeting.
Okay.
And they came up with the categories too. We didn't invent those categories.
Okay.
I would like to get a copy of that.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
we,
this is gonna be the plan. if
It
we
will
adopt
be,
it.
will
Yeah.
this be in the plan?
yeah, it's in the plan.
Good.
So they came up with the topic and they voted. So we gave all 70 people, I don't remember how many stickers,
Okay.
maybe it was 3 or something. And they could stick however many they wanted. So that doesn't mean 35 people voted for it, it means 35 stickers got there. Develop a community parks district. That was another one, an extra new service. Develop our own internet service, a new service. Consider infrastructure development. That was your own infrastructure, making sure it's substantial. Water quantity, water quality going down, water conservation education. I think that was an interesting one. It's something you already do and they want more of it. They voted positively for your staff. Some voted for lower rates. Disaster preparedness made it onto the list. A little bit of concern about SAM cost control and accountability. Bringing back a senior discount from Recology. And then garbage sustainability. I don't know specifically what garbage sustainability meant, and I don't remember that being discussed, but someone put it there. And then there was a whole bunch of these other things that nobody voted for, even though they brought them up. And so someone had an interest in all these other services, like cell tower for better service, compost program, improve the sewer system, different things. For those, Catherine or Scott, I don't know if, for the people who weren't there, I just thought it was an incredibly positive meeting for this type of meeting. A
Yeah.
lot of positive energy about the district. It was kind of, it took me aback, frankly, because there's also a lot of historical negativity and various opinions over things, and you know, you just got a crowd that was very positive about the district.
It's part of what we love about living here.
Yeah,
Great.
the strong debate.
Well, I mean, people who really like living here
Right.
and like having organizations like this, like Midcoast Council, things that represent the people, and try to do what the community wants, and we're really interested in it. And they know that when they show up, it helps us be more responsive to what they want.
Right. And I will come back, as I went through this document, I reread it today. I hadn't read it for a little bit. And just try to like see it a little differently. And this idea of additional services came up quite a bit. It's a difficult challenge for a tiny district, and I know there's debate about it, but there was a pretty positive vote there to look at some things and consider if you could or should.
Well, if I might interject,
Yeah.
these are ideas that people have come to us when we're collecting our mail or in the grocery store or whatever, and they'll come up to us and say, well, you know, I've been thinking. And then they'll say, I think I'm really upset with Comcast. Could you guys work on it, getting some new internet service? Because at least then it could be, you know, ours.
Right.
And then other people will come up with their other ideas, and as Scott said, it makes this very interesting to live here, because the people who do live here do care, and they're always trying to look for solutions.
Right. So that was very interesting and a very productive meeting, I thought. That's just a little picture of the postcard you guys sent out. You had signs, a postcard. I forget what else you did. You had a press release. You did a few things. This is something where we still have a little work left, and there's still some markups on it. The mission statement, did this get into your version? It should be, since the other part's gone, I'm not sure what page we should be looking at.
No. What we have is the mission statement that was sent out.
Oh, yeah, because
yesterday.
we just did this, we just changed this. At the actual workshop where we took this up, there was some confusion about the versions. Apparently there's a version of a mission statement on the current website. It's the bottom one on this list here from the current website. I believe there's a version on the old website that we were not able to find, I don't believe.
I'll go find that.
There was the workshop initial draft that I brought into the workshop. We polished a draft there, you can see, also from the workshop. And then I went ahead and there's one called, the third one down, updated draft, which mixed the polished draft from the workshop and a version from the current website. And what I took from the current website is in red there. And what I struck from the version you all worked on at the last workshop shows there in strikeout. And I'll just read it out loud. I know you can see it, or maybe some of you can't. We were talking about eyeballs earlier and how well they work or not.
That's the one to my right.
I'm just about Scott's age, and my eyes are not so great either. But represent and serve the
Ouch.
community of Montara, Moss Beach, and Pillar Ridge with quality water, sanitary, and solid waste services. Be open to meeting other community needs desired by our customers, and ensure the fiscal and environmental vitality of the district for future generations. I would invite wordsmithing unless we get into a big tangle, in which case we may want to put it off. But I can type right here and you can see what you're putting. Or you can deal with it later.
I'll jump in. I like the idea of somehow calling out Pillar Ridge, but technically they're part of Moss Beach.
They're a neighborhood in Moss Beach.
They are, yeah. I don't think we need to,
I mean, if you're going to call out Pillar Ridge, then you need to call out Seal Cove and Bill's neighborhood and
but I like the idea because in many ways they're not considered part of our community, and I like something that tries to draw them in. But I don't know that to be consistent, it would be a big long list of all the neighborhoods, and there's a lot of people I bet who don't even know the name of their neighborhood, but we do because it's on this map.
Well,
and I think specifically itemizing a single neighborhood sets it apart from the rest of the community.
okay. Would you like to strike just that one, Pillar Ridge? Or
Yeah, and I hate to be terrible, but I don't work well from screens.
Okay. Then
If I could have a printed copy or something, I could.
That
What I see here is just
can we print one
this.
quickly?
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got a speedy printer.
I'm not sure. Why did you strike out cost-effective and environmentally sensitive?
Because
cost-effective seems to be a really big deal for our community. So
well, it kind of came back in at the bottom when I stole something from the current website.
Yeah,
Ensure the
that-
fiscal
that
environmental.
just says we have to
vitality.
keep the agency fiscally sound. That doesn't say that we're
Yeah,
treating
we-
our customers with respect about their
We could
wallet.
be like some agencies or states or other government entities who think the way to keep themselves fiscally sound is to keep raising taxes.
Yeah, this is, I mean,
Okay.
my mind immediately goes to the Little Hoover Commission report from back in 2000 or so. About, filling the coffers with a bunch of slush fund. We expressly want to disavow that in this statement.
Well, I put it back.
Okay.
Because, that is different from the fiscal vitality.
Yep. Okay. You had used the word very specifically last time, community, instead of communities of Montara. So would you just eliminate the word Pillar Ridge
Yes.
and leave it Montara and Moss Beach?
Community of Montara, Moss Beach.
Okay.
As the name implies.
Are you people from Moss Beach okay with having Moss Beach after Montara?
Oh my God.
Well, it's alphabetical.
I was gonna say,
Well, now that we have Moss Beachians, well, how do you refer to yourselves?
We have not even thought about it, but if we could
Hey,
talk
you.
about it.
the U words.
The fine people of Moss Beach.
We usually say Half Moon Bay because people confuse it with
Oh.
Moss Landing. I hear that all the time.
No.
There is a truth to that.
Moss Landing.
That's okay, they confuse Montara with
Montana.
Montana
Montana.
or Monterey.
Yeah,
There's
The
some
ocean's
fine
closer
stories
here.
about Montana, aren't there?
Oh, yeah.
Plus, it's remarkable
both have
how
some
Hampton,
Bibles.
San Mateo people don't know where Moss Beach is.
No, they don't.
No. To some degree, that's a benefit. So,
I think the order we do it.
Water's okay, all right.
If,
I
if you
think
guys
they're
have any
going to
thoughts on
claim
what
to
we
be
could
from
do,
Montana.
it's a bit of an awkward phrase, but we want to make sure both are called out and that we consider it one community.
If you haven't.
We tried to find a way when we renamed the district, when we added water in, to do something.
Can't we just take the and out, put
Thank you
dash?
so much.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest that,
Well,
just, yeah,
you
just take
could.
the and out, Montara,
Yeah.
Moss Beach. Or dash or something, or, thank you.
Like a hyphenated word, kind of?
Yes.
Montara,
Yeah.
Moss Beach? Okay,
Kind of like
Yes.
Slater Charter.
From Montara.
there you go, they got
Gerald
married.
Marine Reserve.
I guess mine's a song that goes from the one part of the country to the other.
Yeah, we need a song. It's like
Yeah.
coast to coast.
I can't remember what you said that time.
Oh, I can't either.
Montara, Moss Beach.
Shores,
Okay, good.
Shores of Montezuma, that kind of thing.
We tried calling,
Shores of Tripoli.
we toyed with Sand City, which is down here on the map, but
Then people confuse us with
Seaside City.
Seaside.
Seaside City, yeah, we got, it just
Is that
didn't
down
work.
next to Monterey?
Yeah. So, whatever, we just decided to keep Montara Moss Beach.
Making it a little bigger, so it's,
For the old things.
Okay, I like, that's great.
Well, like that all for the old ones. The ones that think are
for people who are aging as we speak.
old.
That's a good thing, compared to the alternative, as
Yes.
Mark Twain said.
So, to me, that reads pretty good. Now, you may have other things that I'm not understanding about the community, but does that look acceptable there? Do you want to keep
Well,
wordsmithing?
If we go up to item 1,
Mhm.
we've got the concept of local control and active public involvement, openness and ethics. Now, maybe we put that,
Now that, in my mind, that could be a way of being and not actually your mission, but you can have
Yeah.
what you choose.
and maybe it goes under values or vision or something, but, I think those are important practices for the board and the staff that are important to call out somewhere.
Okay. I personally would save those for values, maybe, if you want to make a note. But you can put them in your mission statement. I just don't think your mission is to be ethical. Your mission is to provide a service.
Right.
So our original that we hashed out, I don't know, sometime back, to sensitively manage the natural resources entrusted to our care, to provide the people of Montara and Moss Beach with reliable, high-quality water, wastewater, and trash disposal services at an equitable price, and to ensure the fiscal and environmental vitality of the district for future generations.
Oh, that's the one that's still on the website. If you look here. Let's see here.
Yes, so it is the one.
Yeah, we had the right
There
one.
was the question if that was the right one, but it seems to me.
Yeah, we thought it may not have been for some reason, but. So that one is on your list, and it's also right
Is that
there.
on the website? Here we go.
It's on the current website too. The only idea that's missing in the top one, or not there, is the sensitively managed. But we do say environmentally sensitive. The idea is in there, it's just put differently.
I like the bottom one, the current website one better. It's more simple, it's more direct.
We can change it from Montara and Moss Beach to Montara-Moss Beach.
Yeah. I mean, that's my opinion, it's more direct and more simple.
Okay?
I still like the top one better,
That's fine.
The one above this one.
yeah. The one that we did. this
Number,
one,
is that number 3 that you like, not number 1?
It's the one where it's got Pillar Ridge crossed out.
Yeah, okay, that's number 3.
And I'll get rid of that just to get rid of the distraction of it, since you've all agreed to that.
Take the comma out after wastewater.
In which one?
Well, that's it. The current website
This one, wastewater and trash Well, that's a choice. That's
Oh,
a
that's-
quality
that's-
of water.
That's the Oxford comma. We can't
Grammatically-
dispense with the Oxford
Grammatically, that's
comma.
correct.
No, sorry, Oxford comma is not up for debate.
Well,
Well, you can debate it all you want.
So-
High quality wastewater. But when you have complex.
what would Harvard have done?
Now we're in trouble.
No, according to Elements of Style by Funk, it's preferable to keep things very simple, simple. By the bottom one is more direct and simple.
Oh, you're gonna bring out the style guide, are you?
What the bottom one would be missing, I think there are,
No, we've worked really hard.
Do you
to-
remember
Yeah.
that? Well,
besides
Strike and
style,
white.
Represent and serve the community.
besides style, what's different about the upper one is this idea about being open to meeting other community needs desired by our customers.
And I think that's important. I think having an open mind for our customers
That could
is,
just be added to the bottom one.
It
Could I
could.
suggest taking the second sentence of the current, of the one at the top, add that to the current website.
That,
what, be open? What does that mean, be open? That's like touchy-feely.
Well, but this is what came
are you
out.
an engineer?
This is what came out of the community meeting where they said, look, we want you to consider doing some more things. And we said, look, we've got to make sure that we do what we're here to do well first. And then as we have the capability to do more,
that's what it means, yeah.
I mean, right, and that's what that's about.
Not be
So
closed-minded.
Well, but it's, if the community wants things, we want this to be the place where they come and ask for them. And that's what we want to say, is that
That's why if you transfer it, start with be open and end with future generations. Because being open, you still need to make sure that we are protecting the fiscal and
It's still
environmental
there,
vitality.
it's in the lower one.
Oh, it is in the lower one,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna transfer this to be the last sentence, which makes sense because it's sort of an additional idea.
we might be able to smith the words to better capture the notion of
Yeah.
all these people putting up the green dots saying, I mean, if you look at what the green dots are on, a bunch of that is stuff that we're not doing now, but they were telling us, look, we're comfortable with you thinking about picking up these additional services.
Okay.
But,
This-
but we don't want to commit to, any idea that comes across. We have to make sure we're doing our principal mission first. But we do want to be a place where people are comfortable to come talk to us about it, because we get some really good ideas from the community.
And I will apologize,
Can't
But
we
I-
just say be open to meeting other community needs, not say desired by our customers?
I was just about to say that because that limits it to who we're talking to, as only people who are ratepayers, as opposed to people who maybe live in the community and pay on the bond but aren't direct customers.
Well, then I would say desired by our community.
Okay,
One of the key elements I like here with the word desired is, we're not just talking about adding some program because we had this good idea, but it's something that people have approached us, talked to us about, and we've been persuaded that not only is it a good idea, but the district could take it on and succeed at it.
Yeah, I think that's an element.
So
of-
could we change customers to community?
that's what he
I
did.
did at the bottom one.
Oh,
We
and
could
bottom.
From
put
the
it-
current
right.
website.
We're kind of looking at both. They're both changing at the same time, so this,
Okay, all right.
be open to meeting other community needs desired by our, well, now we have community,
Kill the first.
community,
Kill the first
Yeah.
instance.
to other needs.
Other needs,
Yeah, that's better.
Needs.
and there's a
Well-
period that needs to come out.
Yeah, other needs is.
What kind of
doesn't sound
needs
right.
are we talking about?
Other services.
Meaning-
I've got needs.
Oh, we can't meet them all. Does that mean we open a bar up next door?
That's right, we do.
Scotch.
Scotch is good.
Well, we could say public services or,
There's
we
no
just
bar
can't
in
use
Montara like
community.
this, is there? There's no bar.
meeting other,
How about other services desired by our community?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
Change needs to
distillery,
services.
there's La
I think that
Costanera.
may
That's
work.
right, there are two bars.
And then meeting other services, providing other services.
There's the
provided.
We have services all over the place now.
Well,
We have trash disposal service.
Well, let's solid waste service. Let's just say solid waste.
You can take the services out of trash disposal, as simply, and trash disposal.
Right.
And then we could change it to trash disposal above if we're still debating.
Boy, anybody who's watching this meeting is going to go to sleep so fast.
It's better than a magazine and a sofa.
Got it.
In the bottom sentence, I would like, respond to other community needs, community
Desires.
desires or community.
Wait a minute, again.
Well,
I've got
Respond.
desires too, but
Jim, you're still at the open is bothering you?
Yeah, the idea, be open.
how about if we
Why
strike
not
how about if we
consider?
strike the word
Yeah,
meeting?
consider,
Take a
yeah.
look at how that reads.
Be open to,
Yeah, write that one. If you just get rid of the word
Be
meeting.
open.
well, you could, I think it's a little vague. Be open to them, just,
Okay, then how about providing?
Well, you're not gonna
oh,
provide
providing,
every
how about
desire.
providing?
Well, but that's why we're saying be
providing's a
open.
much clearer word than meeting.
I would just, I'm with Scott, drop meeting and be open and then.
How about
Okay,
instead
that's
of
fine.
providing, considering?
No, because that just,
Yeah.
that to me is like,
Yeah, you're not doing
It's a
anything.
weasel.
You know-
Weasel clause.
Oh,
come up, speak to an unplugged microphone and we'll
Yeah.
thank you for
Well,
coming.
I think be open.
I guess I've been dealing with the Board of Supervisors too much.
We'll give
Are
you
we
more than
there?
3 minutes.
Or do we have more, are we at the bottom
that's
one or
fine.
the higher one?
The bottom one, right?
Okay, so the bottom one.
Yeah.
and it
Bill,
is- So I don't get confused. There it is.
So we have six versions now. So.
Yeah, we'll keep track this time. Okay, shall we move on?
sensitivity.
Sure, as long as we don't have to have the dots between each of the words, I'm okay with
Yeah, no, they'll be invisible. So now, moving back to the document. So we've done that, and now there's a page called Vision for the Future and Values. Do you have that page? Yes, it looks like you do.
it. Sorry, what page number is that?
15.
Yeah, thank you.
I get confused about who's who, but I believe you worked on this statement. Trusted and proven to cost-effectively provide our customers with the services they need while serving as one of the pillars of the community. And I think by the discussion, by my memory of the discussion, it was the trusted and proven that you were aiming at, and this idea of being a pillar of the community. It's a fairly simple statement. And I think the services they need related to an openness to additional services too. So this idea comes forward again.
The vision is trusted and proven to cost effectively provide. Vision is trusted.
Whoever came up with the idea of trust and proven, I remember a substantial conversation. That's the achievement of your vision, when people trust you because you've proven that you can do a good job and they're comfortable.
I mean, I have to say the last advent is somewhat arrogant. I mean, I don't know why we need that. A pillar is kind of something that people, I don't think that serves anything but people's egos maybe around the table. I would just stop with services need, period. I mean,
That's
I don't
yeah.
understand the second half of that.
Well, I think one of the pillars is, why not just say the pillar?
What pillar are you talking about?
Pillar,
That's it.
pillar rich, obviously.
I would recommend.
I think the idea was, and I'm with you, it
To the
reads
what?
a little funny, but one of the,
That's right.
the idea was that
Pillars.
the community wants to be able to rely on us as one of the cornerstones or something that, something that is a foundational element of the community itself.
Well, trusted and proven pretty well gets you there, doesn't it? I mean, I just don't.
No, I mean, like, for example, I got an email from one of our constituents before this meeting about, look, at the meeting we were discussing, we want a community center and we want to look to you guys to provide that. To me, that would actually be something where the agency is serving, in a tangible way, is providing kind of a focal point for the community, or something the community relies on, I think we're just struggling to find a way to say, we're not just this thing that's here, but we're actually here that you can think of as your own and as something that makes our community what it is. Part of, it's just one of the little things. I mean, I think Montara State Beach is a little more profound, and Fitzgerald is more profound in people's minds about what's here, but
I wonder,
I think the word pillar of the community, I don't think I like that, but I'd like to find another phrase that describes what you're talking about.
the idea that I think I remember you talking about comes across when you're, especially in small communities like this, a lot of organizations are seen as the place to go. You're not going to go to the county with your desire most of the time. There's no city to turn to. It's the organized place where you can get a problem solved. Even if it's not realistic, when people say we want internet, we want parks, we want this, and so they turn to you because
I
there's
don't
no
know
other
if that's the right
organized
word, but
sort of force to turn to. And I think, in my mind, that's what an organization like this can represent in the community.
I mean,
Well,
it's something along the lines of a town hall or a city hall or something that the place where you go, to go.
Even though you don't really serve all those services.
No,
But we do, in a sense. I mean, if you talk to Judy and Joanne about the kinds of calls they get, the questions they get that are unrelated to water and sewer, but people are calling, who do I talk to? I've got this problem. And the word that comes to my mind, and I don't think it's the right word, is touchstone. It's a place where people go to.
How about representative of the community?
Yeah.
Representatives.
Okay, that's representative.
I mean, I can live with whatever you say, but I think you're trying to do way too much with this one scope. I mean, you could say that about Fair Lawn View for the youth of the schools. I mean, I think that people come to us because they trust and we're proven to them. And,
Absolutely.
And I think by saying that, you capture it. I think you're trying too hard to make something more complicated than it is. The statement stands on its own, and I would suggest you let it ride on its own.
Okay, and that being trusted and proven to cost effectively provide for our customers with service they need.
Period.
Period.
Should we make trusted and proven adverbs?
Well, I'll let you, you're beyond my pay grade, but,
Yes.
but, I'm okay with any of that. I just think we ought to just capture the essence of what why people come to us.
Well, that's what it would look like right there. That does make a very nice simple sentence right there.
let's go simple.
Yeah.
Let's go
Okay.
simple. And let's go on to the next.
So
one.
what's the conclusion? What do you guys?
It just says trusted and proven to cost effectively provide our customers with the services they need, period.
I mean,
That
in
is
terms
nice.
in terms of vision, I want to think that if we're doing a really good job, people are going to look to us in that way. But whether or not we say it, that's fine.
What about cornerstone?
Cornerstone. There you go. That's it.
I think just leave it simple.
I think we could find all sorts of ways to say, an essential element of the community,
Yeah.
or.
Essential element.
But let's go short. If we're trusted, if the agency
Foundation.
itself is trusted and proven, then
you
all
are
these other
that.
things will accrue to it.
Okay, good. It is something you can also remember very simply.
Okay.
It's the kind of thing that gets some strength from simplicity too. Values. They're at the bottom of the page. They're written two ways. One is a straight statement like represent our community. And then we had this discussion at the last workshop. One way to use values is when you have a question and you can't come to a decision about it, you can go to your values and ask it as a question. For instance, will it enable the district to better represent and serve the communities of Montara/Moss Beach? Well, we would change that. So it says represent and serve our community, to provide quality services, to be trusted by the community, to be responsive to the community and its changing needs. This gets the idea of new services again. To be open and available to the public we serve, to use customer funds cost effectively. I don't know why we put over time there. That seems like a weird.
I like the statements better.
Well, they can both be there. It's
Okay.
just a demonstration that you
I
can't.
think that over time is it did we think about the long term in thinking about the
Right.
cost effectiveness, or is it a one shot good deal? You know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
It looks like a typo to me, it's so.
Well, it does look like a typo.
But I think Scott's point is if you just, I see this happen all the time in the news. Somebody takes a snapshot of a government agency and then starts complaining that they're not doing their due diligence or they're
Right.
managing costs effectively. And so sometimes you have to take a big loan out, but you have the ways to pay it off over time and it all works
Well, if
out.
you want-
On the flip side, people who believed CalPERS back in 2000 that you could do really fat retirement benefits at no cost to your agency, but it turns out, you know, not even 10 years later, people have realized that was a desperately bad idea because they didn't think long term.
Okay, do you want that idea in there? If we do, we might want to wordsmith a little. It's,
Wordsmith.
To use our customer funds sustainably.
I like that.
Okay.
Ah,
Sustainably.
sustainably.
That's like a $3 word right there.
Sustainably.
I know you got the $5 word in there somewhere.
Sustainably.
I can put it.
Do you play
I'm not
Scrabble
sure.
a lot?
My wife plays it every night. So I never play it.
Try to get your foot and tail one time.
I would.
Well, that's clearly
For one, I can't spell very well, so that ends that.
oh, well.
I do think it's interesting that you got this idea in there again about to be responsive to the community and its changing needs. I think at the beginning of this process, those things weren't on the table at all, hardly. A few people were mentioning things like that, and it seems to be reappearing all over the place.
Well, this is where it was mentioned, we can throw in ethical.
Oh, yeah. This would be-
And the number one
Wait.
from the public was local control. And both of those, I think, again, having watched government for a while, it's nice to put the word ethical kind of in there.
Okay. Do you have a specific suggestion?
I'm not a wordsmith.
Okay.
I rely on,
But isn't just that to be trusted by our community, that right there says we're operating in an ethical way, because if we weren't, they wouldn't trust us.
no. Have you looked at Congress lately?
Do you trust them?
No.
Okay, then that's my point.
But a lot of people do. And I'm a cynic, so asking me if I trust anybody is,
Well, I wouldn't say 9% is a lot.
Yeah, I thought I heard 8 or 9%. That's
That's the interesting
She
thing.
said I was gonna get the benefit of the doubt, I
Every,
said 12.
every individual trusts their own congressman, they just don't trust Congress
There
as
is
a
truth
body.
to that.
that's right.
I don't trust my congressman or senators.
You don't, you do?
I
Oh,
don't.
you're a greenie. Who
Well,
cares?
for one, we don't have a congressman, we have a congresswoman.
We have
I don't
two.
trust. I don't trust either of them.
God.
But I do want local control in that. That was the number one.
And so to protect local control, though, what do you want to do about it?
What is this a value statement?
Oh, yeah, you could just value local control, I guess.
How about the first one? Represent and serve our community through local control.
That's good.
Very good.
Or with local, yeah, through local control.
I think it is nice to not, I mean, everybody, there's probably a list of 100 words that most people would agree that they value, but it is nice to have a relatively short list so you can focus on them. And, you know, like you don't put honesty and, you know, a lot of other things you may value, but what are the things this organization specifically wants to focus on? Is this a good list at this point?
I'd like to have the be trusted by the community on top, maybe. I think it might be better on top. That's kind of the first thing, don't you think? Or I don't.
Oh, now we're putting them in priority.
Well, you don't have to, but I mean, if you want it first, and that doesn't mean the rest are lesser priority, it just is the
Yeah,
way it is.
No, I think that's a good list, the way it sits.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Shall we move on?
Wait.
Okay.
Represent and serve our community through local control. That sounds redundant.
No,
Maintaining?
well, it comes from the number one, no consolidation pick.
Okay.
Right. And so the notion of local control is something that I'm quite certain needs to be expressed. So I don't care how we say it, I just want to make sure we get
It could be a separate line, it could just be local control. You value local control with no other verb attached to it.
That sounds good too.
Okay.
It is a
That's
little
simple.
awkward attached to that one.
Okay, sure, yeah, we,
Okay,
to
then,
value local control.
there.
You just value local control.
comes up in every election of every different kind.
Okay,
Not just this agency.
all right. Is everyone okay now? Moving on. And we'll fix this up, of course, with any details. So let me flip the page. Now we get to goals and objectives, which are sort of the operating heart of the document in terms of policy statements. And there's a series of goals, like water, you see here, water supply, planning and source water protection. and
You're on
other
this
goals.
page here, right? This page?
Yes,
16.
which are number 16. Goal 1, water supply, and the way these are each set up is a goal and a little statement explaining a little bit more about it. So the water supply one is protect, maintain, and develop existing and new water sources for best quality, cost, and productivity, while ensuring the permanent sustainability of the district's water supply and quality. And then you have 3 objectives, which are,
We actually have 4
oh, are there 4?
in the document that we have.
Okay,
But there's actually 3 because one got flipped over to another area, right?
Yes.
1.4, so it is.
so these documents are a little out of skew here. I'm gonna make a note. There is a 4th.
No,
But Mark, this is something we already hashed out on the workshops, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and so, but Clemens made a few modest edits to the goals and objectives once he worked on the work plan.
Okay.
And so they are slightly different. I don't think materially a lot different, but just in looking at it in that way. So I don't think we want to go through every one unless you choose to. I mean, they're here. Maybe you've read them or you can take a minute to look at them on your draft.
No, I think we're good.
And then
We're good.
communication, you had some. And we talk about messaging, and then we talk about having an outreach plan instead of just random outreach. We talk about two-way communication, so listening to your community and not just telling them about things. Moving on to the next, there's a rates and finance one. And I'll just read the goal instead of every objective. Use the longest possible outlook for planning revenue needs, finances, and rates. Base planning and decisions on a long-term proactive understanding of finance, capital facility planning, and operational and regulatory needs. There was a fair amount of discussion about this idea of, long-term outlook and not just balancing the books today, but looking ahead at all your costs. And I think that's good common sense kind of ideas. And a lot of the ideas here have to do with that. Again, there are quite a few work plan items that get under these kind of goals and objectives. If you want to take a minute just to read them yourself to make sure they look okay, you can always comment later, but these should probably stay fairly stable over time. You probably wouldn't just willy-nilly be changing these a lot over time.
What does it mean when you say fair by class?
In the rates,
Mm-hmm.
well, you were talking about maybe you have commercial rates and residential rates, or I don't know what your classes are. Are people paying their fair share appropriately?
In that case, I'd like to just expand that to maybe rate classification, rate type.
Okay.
I'd like it to be a little bit,
Yeah, like not economic class or something like that.
yeah.
I'll put
Not first grade or high
This whole thing
school.
is something that we all came to agreement beforehand, it's just a restatement of it, right?
Yeah, so we can leave it. I mean, to me, that's just a very small.
I'm just
typing.
Trying to make it, to clarify it for somebody who's reading this who hasn't been through this.
Yeah, class.
It brings to mind. It brings to mind
Comments
the
about-
issue though about, that's been raised many times that we've struggled to try to find a solution for, but the water tiers and homes with quite a few You know,
So-
some homes have, you know, one or two people in them, and other homes have entire large families, and the water tiers don't.
Okay,
We don't
how
have a
about
way to
just
take
by-
that into
instead of
account.
class, say by tier.
Well, but
Fair
that's the whole
bond.
point, is that the tiers,
Fair bond.
that
are fair, just by that are fair.
Why don't
Yeah.
you just say the rates are fair?
Yeah, I agree.
Semicolon,
Yes.
and then.
because that's really the goal,
Yeah.
is that it's fair, and then
And then by class and customer, you can drop it.
Yeah,
You're
I agree.
done.
I agree.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Mr. Simple over there, he's,
That's a,
Well,
that's a
I
talent.
don't know if that's gonna be.
I'm gonna get a Sharpie, I'm gonna change your nameplate.
It's good, Mr. Simple.
Mr.
It's a
Simple.
compliment, really.
No,
Actually, it is a
I
compliment.
do think that's a compliment.
I'm not saying that you are.
We could go, I mean, which is kind of soft.
Of course, if you're
You know, I
simple
don't think I've
tongue.
ever sat next to a fellow board member who's
are we ready to look at governmental relations, number 4?
But you haven't.
Okay,
And that was a much shorter one. It was just promote collaborative relationships and partnerships, and it had two objectives. Apparently, this was a straightforward one. I'll keep going. 5, additional services. This idea comes back. We use the word be open, but we use providing additional services that are needed and desired within our service area. We had just fiddled with those words. We might want to make this parallel to that, but or just leave it.
I think consistency is good. I realize it's the, what was that phrase? Goblins.
Don't go there.
But it is useful.
And we throw in the ideas about examining each one on a case-by-case basis and seeking to provide services collaboratively. Again, fairly straightforward, just a way of judging whether we should do this or not. Operations and administration, I think that brings us to the end. No, they keep going. Develop and maintain an organizational structure and management policies that foster a high-performing, stable, and productive organization that learns and improves over time. You have a few specific things there. The one thing I might call out, develop and implement a plan for retaining institutional knowledge. It is remarkable to me, different agencies are all different. You could have a pretty big sewer agency that is fundamentally much simpler than this. I mean, I work for, just to pick one randomly, I can think of several that might have 50, 70, 100 employees. They serve very big areas, but they're fundamentally simple. They're a collection system. Maybe they just deliver everything to some other outside treatment plant. You guys have water supply, you have sewer, you have SAM, you have a lot of complex politics, you have solid waste, and you have really one person who's responsible for all of it. And so when it comes to institutional knowledge and sort of long-term reliability of maintaining all of this, you have a really surprisingly complex situation going on here, all hanging on one person's shoulders, you know, in terms of knowledge and,
That's why he gets a paycheck.
yeah. No, but I mean.
You're not asking him to do this simply out of the goodness of his
I'm
own
not talking
heart.
about hard work, I'm talking about just,
No,
it's
right.
a really large, wide range of things for
Yeah.
one person.
well, when you go to look at that spreadsheet, I mean, it's got, everything says Clemens.
Yeah,
So,
yes, yeah. So, nothing to do about it right this moment, but it is an issue for this organization. It's a complicated organization for how
Well,
small it is.
And it
We've
is
got an ambitious
important
community.
to, we have had instances where I've been looking for minutes, for instance, and haven't been able to find them, even though they should have been in that stack of documents.
Right.
And when our administrative staff, office staff turns over, then you get a whole new way to file and things aren't continued. And so we do need to find a way to maintain that institutional knowledge, because Lou's not gonna be here forever.
There's not?
Well, I hope he
You should
is.
check with Lou before you go making claims like that.
But he might just decide to retire from being our board historian.
Yeah, now, I think now isn't necessarily the moment to solve it, but it is, as you're pointing out,
It does
it's a
seem
challenge,
relevant.
and somewhere in the future, it probably will bite you. It's something to remember, and it's an easy thing to let slide, because it's
Exactly.
never urgent till it happens.
No, and that's why I think it's important to have on the objectives.
So there
Well,
it is.
Clemens, we're already gonna discuss this on the benefits and compensation for staff in the future anyway. It'll be-
Right, and we have already stuff put in the actual work plan, of course.
Then you have some facilities things, and you talk about, again, long-term, reliable, environmentally sound, the kinds of things you talk about everywhere. A few straightforward objectives
Facilities.
around facilities.
Oh, there
Should
they
be
are.
the next
Okay.
page. Even the fact that you have 7 goals, many of my clients often have 4 or 5. And you are a tiny organization, it's just you, you do have a lot of things happening. So there's your wastewater system there, asset management, quality and costs, you talk about a lot of things. And then finally, governance. And,
But I would say that these are all things in my experience with this board that come into our discussions.
mhm.
They're actively considered while we're talking about a project or a part of a project. So it's not like they're individual, they're just part of our thought process.
Yeah, no, I believe they are. And then governance, there's 2 objectives that deal with the board itself. And really, I think, the second one, I think, my own advice would be to take seriously, and I know you have, the fact that you're doing this means you've already taken it seriously, but the idea of periodic consideration of board governance effectiveness, and just maybe annually, and Clemens put in some work items for you which you can erase or keep, to annually actually formally consider, how the board works, and things like minutes and the way you discuss the time of your board meetings, how you work together, the chair. Those are all good things to formally take up, and many boards just never do, or they wait 20 years till things are really not working.
We need an annual, what do you call it, when you go out there to hang out someplace?
Workshops,
I don't know,
Retreat.
Retreat.
retreats.
Retreat, okay.
Where do you want to hang out?
That's a good one. So that brings us to the end. Then there's a placeholder for the work plan. It will be inserted formally later, and you get to this document. I think normally, it's up to you how much you want to look at every single thing. I would probably more want to show you the pattern of this document, which is pretty self-evident, but across the top, there's a numbering system. It corresponds to the goals and objectives. Across the top, then there's a P, that's just a priority, a 1, 2, 3.
Wait a minute, is that what's at the beginning
That's at
of
the
our
beginning,
packet?
I'm sorry, it's at the beginning, it's before
Page
everything
1.
else. It looks like this big
Catherine,
page.
he also did a handout that he distributed
Yeah.
across the land.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, it should be. Then there's an action, a lead, comments, timing, percent, which wasn't filled out, we'll probably get rid of that percent. And then status are some notes. The dark blue is the goal, and they're all the goals we've seen, and the gray is an objective. And for every objective, there should be a work plan, because otherwise it's just hot air if you're not doing something about it. And Clemens developed all of this.
Wait, when you say develop all of this, you mean all the white areas?
All the white, so that's Clemens saying, you told me a goal and an objective, this is what I think I need to do
Oh,
to make it come
okay.
true.
I was wondering where that came from.
Yeah, and so that's the work that Clemens believes is appropriate to meet your goals and objectives.
Okay.
Some of it is, a lot of it's stuff already that was happening, some of it is new initiatives, or some of it's arranged or prioritized differently by Clemens. He can talk with you more, I'm sure, in detail about it.
Okay.
I think the critical point is, it's a stunning list to think that one person essentially is gonna do. Almost all this stuff falls on one person's.
Wow.
There's a little bit in there for Pippin at the end, you'll see, and Tanya at the very end. There's a few board things at the very end having to do with the board governance things.
Well,
But it's quite a challenging list.
is this not, though, identifying who the directly responsible individual is, but Clemens has a staff, and I would expect that some portion of this would be directly delegatable. maybe,
Yeah,
maybe I'm
boy, you
misconstruing
look at
it, but
It doesn't look like there's.
Yeah, not really,
No.
not so much. This,
Well, I
this
think,
ignores the work that's done to keep the doors open every day. for
I
the most
think-
part.
I think, to answer your question, Scott, I think for most part, no. I think where there is consultants to do the work, we've actually put them in. I mean, you're right, I mean, there is some stuff that just is, you know.
well, like, I mean, I'm looking at 1.1.1. I mean, you've been doing this recently with, for example, the CCWD EIR. There, this is something you lead. You provide brain power and leadership, but you also bring in specialists who assist. It's an activity, it's a responsibility, but it's not those. You know, there's one where it's an ad hoc, as needed kind of thing, but it's not a solo effort either.
That's right. Look at 1.1.3, there's, you know, the lead Clemens, but it says with balance.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope that much of this is, you know, where you've got the person who's responsible, but it's not designed to be a solo effort. Where we have too much in the way of solo responsibility, then we should be talking about, okay, how do we, you know, I would expect Clemens to bring to us, okay, hey, this is, you know, I got a really full plate. I need to be able to offload some of this to other members of the staff, and if we don't have that staff member, use this as a basis for saying, look, it's really time to consider more staff.
Well,
That's
maybe-
right.
Maybe the question should be, sir, Clemens, is this, I think the question is this real? I mean, basically, I think to your point, there's a lot here, and I agree, this is not him doing all of it all himself, but the leadership still resides with him. So my question to you is, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages of very hard to read font, which means you have a lot to do. Is this real? I mean, is this realistic? I mean, I would rather approve something that you feel comfortable that we can do and go forward versus putting a bunch of stuff in that we have to kind of retract down the line. Unless we all agree to stretch goals.
Well,
I
not all
think
these are
you should look
ones.
at the timing to see a little bit that, I mean, that is what I essentially did, because the list, I think, is really just a reflection of what's going on and what we really anticipate for, you know, a year or two. And if you're now looking at the timing, this probably makes it more doable.
is this in a spreadsheet,
Yeah,
Excel?
and it's sortable.
So it could be sorted by date?
Yeah, the dates are set up to be sortable.
Well, and the other thing, not
And
everything is the one
that
priority.
would give us a different sense of
Correct.
the tasks too.
So with a lot of things, let's take 1.1.5, develop regional groundwater management agency, timing, December 15, on December 15, I'll give a status update, of where we are. But I think the law says that we have to do this by 2022.
Wow.
So we can implement it by 2017, and the latest
Yeah.
have to be done by 2022.
So maybe under the timing, there would be, maybe to expand that column and put a range.
Well, then the wording is not quite right, because the way I read 115, are we talking about 115?
Yeah,
Yes.
sure.
So the way it reads to me is that develop regional water is gonna be done by December 15th, and you're gonna obtain board approval. That's how it reads.
Right.
And that's not what you're saying. You're saying that this is a 7-year project and you may come back for status reports to that goal. So I think how you verbalized it makes sense, because your deadline is what, 7 years down the road or whatever you said. But the way it reads that you're gonna have this thing pretty much up and running by the end of the year. You know,
Well, it says obtain board approval to start
But I know,
negotiating.
but your objective is to obtain a board approval.
That's just to get going.
I would, so, I don't wanna quibble over the word, I know what you're trying to say, but I would obtain board approval for the plan, obtain a board approval for, I just would clarify that, so so you're being real to yourself and we're all understanding the language the same way.
Yeah.
I thought Martin was going in a different direction. what I see here from a board's perspective, your general manager slash CEO is a sole failure point. Should something happen to Clemens, let's say he gets promoted and given great pay from a different district, or his family wants to move someplace. I'm not putting ideas in his head, I'm just saying, I didn't want to take the negative per saying he gets run over on his bicycle. However, you have no succession plan. Who would step in, you know, how long would it take for you to retrain? Does he have an assistant who is his shadow, offloads some of the work, and yet understands the process, the people, all the kind of things that it takes to have continuation over any kind of a major change? That's something the board should think about if you're gonna throw sustainability into your mission statement and values and all the rest of it.
I think just.
That's just an opinion.
You know,
Yeah.
and you're absolutely right,
Yeah.
and you should be aware that there's a personnel group, two of us are working on that
Oh, okay.
very issue. Because you're absolutely right, this agency is at very high risk for the sustainability, and we're acutely aware of that. So to your point, you're absolutely right.
That's good to know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Bill brought up another issue that eases some of the difficulty of the large list, the 1, 2, 3. It's a very simple priority, but the idea behind it is if you're running short on time or money or any kind of resources, you get rid of a 3 before you get rid of a 2, and you get rid of a 2 before you get rid of a 1. So the 1s become sort of the absolutes, and the 2s and 3s become lesser. It's a very simplistic tool, and some things are more urgent in time and some are later in time, but it's one way of kind of simplistically sorting the list also. And those are Clemens' judgments on 1, 2s, and 3s.
Again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I think what we're saying to you in so many words, we're very sensitive to the workload that you have on this. And onto the 1, 2, 3 business we have here, you almost have as many tight timelines on the 3s as you do the 1s.
Yeah.
And I would suggest, and I think this could be at the discretion of yourself, I would give yourself a lot of slack on the 3s, and maybe not tighten yourself as tight on the 3 deadlines as you would the 1s. Because that's what a 3 means. It means it's priority 3. So,
Well, to a certain extent, you would have no timing on it then, right?
well, you certainly have that option.
Yeah.
But I think, personally, I think what you set up is excellent. I just worry that it's realistic.
Pat, I hear you. Alright. And it's probably good to hear this going into it, because if we start looking at this a year down the line, next February, when we're supposed to pull this out and look at this again, I think that then we can really think about, you know, how realistic was this evaluation?
Well, and I
Are we
think
able to achieve this, yes or no?
the notes like this that the board has consensus on would be useful to put into a notes list to help us refresh our memory. That, yeah, we realize that the number 3s are not nearly as tight, and the timeline could be more flexible, and,
I would like to just suggest one clarification about the 1, 2, and 3. In relationship to time, it would be possible, and a real example, to have a number 1 priority be far off in time, like say some important water supply project with a regulatory deadline, or a treatment plant has to be updated by a certain date. You could say that's a number 1 priority, but it's not due for 7 years, but you still may need to be working on it consistently.
Yeah.
You could have a relatively unimportant thing due next week, and so it's urgent in time, but low in priority, and you just skip it. Or you do it because it's easy, but time and, this is meant to be more priority than time. You know, time is on the time list.
What this is not is the plan, including the milestones for each of these things. And so
Right.
if you were to take this and put them on a calendar, and then inform that by adding in all of the milestones for each of these, then you could find out, you know, does this reflect overcommitment of the available resource, or does it actually work out? Because the priority and the timing don't tell you anything about the resource allocation.
Over time.
Right.
Yeah. The reality for an organization this small is that Clemens probably can't completely organize all his work that way, that he's running from thing to thing, you know, in terms of planning. So, I mean, Clemens, obviously, you know how you plan things, and like Scott is saying, you have all sorts of detailed plans for these things in different places, different reports, different timelines, different people working on them. And all of that detail informs the reality, right, of the actual work on any given day, week, or month. But I don't know if you'll ever be able to draw all that together. That would be just, you'd spend all day just organizing yourself.
Well,
Plus, I mean, quite frankly, all this is just the projects, this is what we want to get done.
Right.
This is not the interruptions of, you know, reality.
Yeah,
You,
yeah.
you mean like the day-to-day management?
I mean, 75% of our work.
I would like to turn, unless you want to look at this more, back to the written report and look at something at the end of that report.
can we just stay with this for maybe just a little bit longer?
Yep.
It seems like, to me, this is really, it's got Clemens' name as the objective, but this is really a strategic plan for all of us. Goals are for all of us and stuff like that, so that the one thing that I would bring up, in my feeling, is that this is a guide, something that sort of to just keep us thinking about these issues, but it shouldn't be construed that this is like Clemens' marching papers, and this is how he's going to be evaluated as a manager, that if he doesn't hit this goal by this time, that's going to look very bad for him or something like that. Whereas, let's say on a meeting budget objectives and stuff like that, it's maybe a little more tightly defined, where this is more of a guideline going forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'd like to suggest a slightly different twist on what you're saying.
Okay.
But you can take it how you decide to. The goals and objectives should be fairly stable, right, over time, the ones that you created. The work plan may change a lot over time. Like Clemens said, maybe some big pump station fails and he has to spend 3 months resolving this difficult problem. Then, of course, the reality of this changes. But I would suggest that typically what you want to do is make this sort of Clemens' work plan for the year and the basis for his annual review. But of course you would take into reality, like, there may be lots of reasons this changes. He does or doesn't do many of these things in reality. And I don't, you would use your judgment to understand whether that was appropriate or because he failed in some way. But I think normally this should become the basis for his annual review, recognizing reality,
Yeah.
This plus the other 75%.
Yeah, plus all the things he does to keep the doors open every day.
Yeah, so that basically is his workload consistent with the blue and the gray, and the white is more his way of making sure that he stays on target.
Exactly. And there could be lots of reasons, almost certainly lots of this will change in reality. But it becomes a way of organizing yourself and not forgetting things.
Okay, and then one other thing is just to sort of, and I almost hate to bring this up because I'd like to think I am very sensitive to workload issues and stuff like that, but is this something that at a board meeting, either a report or something on, let's say, a report, just one paragraph thing that these are the areas that I'm having trouble with, or these are the areas that are going smoothly, or something that sort of just so it's not like, all of a sudden at the end of the year there's some kind of surprise there.
Yeah, that's something we should talk about. I would say the most common is to have some boards form a committee to oversee this. They usually meet quarterly or every 6 months. I think it's most realistic to maybe have at most a quarterly or every 6 month report, like from a board committee plus Clemens, about progress on this. A number of districts also have a place on their agenda to note where it is on the strategic plan, so you recognize the tie-in. Ideally, there's lots of ways the strategic plan could later tie in with the organization, like it could be, the budget could be organized in a similar way, but what I would say for now, for this district, report every 6 months on progress on these items, and have a board committee maybe sit every 6 months with Clemens, review it, make a simple report to the board, and that's plenty, so it doesn't become an interruption in the workload.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have an annual review in the plan built in for such next February, and that would mean then a mid-year meeting at minimum.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if it couldn't be part of what we just started and finished. If you can cross it off on this list, but the mid-year finance review, because all of this is closely tied to our.
Well, that kind of falls in timing-wise with the year-end,
Yeah.
right? So we would have to pick a time in the summertime to get together and look at the plan.
But it makes sense to me to have, I mean, the way this strategic plan is set up, it's on a January to December, but our financial year is offset from that, and it seems to me that because it would make more sense to have the budget and the strategic plan interlinked.
That's a normal process, but I think given actual reality of workload, you're normally gonna update it around now before the budget season, like you said, so it's
Right.
linked. And then reviewing it again, say in May or June, would probably be too soon. I think it makes sense to review it then in August or something.
Well, that's my point. We just had the mid-year financial review.
Right.
And had we had the strategic plan there, it would have made sense to me. Then we could be talking about, all right, how are we doing on spending the money on the newsletter, on the outreach, on this, on the training, on that, and also then that flows into, are we going to have the money to do any of this stuff? It may be we have some priorities here. These are closely tied to
Yeah.
what our financial situation is.
absolutely.
And we will be able to do that
Right now.
next time around with the 6-month finance report. Is
Right,
that
right.
what I hear you say?
Well, the next 6 months finance report will be a year from now because we just had a 6-month to get ready for the budget.
Yes.
It was a little off from 6 months,
It
but
works the other way around. Now we have this fresh plan that allows us to budget for the coming.
right. And once we get them interconnected, when we have both in place, then it will fall together so that they're
Yes.
linked.
Yes.
I mean, I think my recommendation would be is that you have one from finance and one from outside finance, because I think you have financial considerations, but you have operational and HR considerations as well. So I would recommend you have one from finance and one from, probably has to do with human resources and things that go with it. So it mainly the 5 of us can select 2 of us to do that, and then it certainly falls back to the finance for the ultimate. So that would be sort of the kind of the compromise.
You know, that makes sense because here we are talking about how much there is to do, and maybe part of what we need to be talking about is hiring a part-time assistant
Exactly.
to be able to get this done.
Right on this topic is, if you turn to the end of the written document, I think it will be page 21 of your document, of the written version of it.
It says expectations and
Maybe
results.
20, or maybe 22.
Work plan
Maybe 22.
Achieving
22.
expectations.
Yeah.
it says TBD.
It's this page, expectations and results, achieving expectations. Maybe it's the next page.
No, we have TBD on this one.
We
There.
don't have that.
Oh, okay, something's missing. There, okay, somehow we got a version problem here, but if you look up on the screen there, for the, it's a little bit just for fun, but the very first thing that we did was I asked you what your expectations were. I'm sorry, I'm flipping around a little bit. And these are your expectations, those bullets. Each of you said something. And I believe, I looked through this, I said we would try to achieve your expectations at the end and we'd look at this. And so Keep open minds and clearly elaborate goals. I think we did this. Someone say if you think we didn't. Bring the board together on a well-thought-out course. I think you did that. Achieve a full sharing of ideas, identify challenges, and provide direction. I think you did that. Get to know individual thoughts and perspectives. Same, someone had no expectations. Identify strengths and weaknesses, set goals and priorities, develop a vision that we can jointly work on, and ultimately develop a plan to meet our needs for water, sewer, and garbage in a way that is affordable and is sustainable. I think we did all those things. I think we did more. That's just kind of a closing little thought. I don't know if you have comments on that, but then expectations and results. We talked about a board committee and a semi-annual report. Clemens mentioned the idea of updating it annually and rolling it forward. I just took a note about the 6-month review and a committee. It would be good, I put some suggestions here about printing some of these things or making a poster with the vision, values, and goals, or putting them on the back of your business card. I think I didn't mention
Big
it.
business card.
Yeah, some people put some of these on there, their vision or their mission statement. But Clemens, you may want to think about how you would maybe share this with your employees. These are a few ideas. I'll edit these based on what you actually choose to do, because we did not discuss these in great detail. But somehow this should be reviewed with your staff.
What about making them watch the video of this meeting?
You mean to fall asleep?
Do you-
As you stated
Yes,
before?
for their afternoon nap.
Steve, how good are you at editing?
Can you make this pop with excitement? So,
Get right on
sausage I'll, Clemens, I'll edit some of these thoughts. You know, we can talk about this briefly, but edit based on Clemens' thoughts. That brings us to the end. I'll edit that based on what he's actually planning to do. But that represents it. We'll clean this up. We'll get you a clean, proper version with the right version control. And that will be it. You may want to discuss whether you know, I've been taking notes. We can finalize it, whether you can accept it or what you want to do.
I think you did a great job. I mean, this is really, I'm impressed. This is more than I expected.
Yeah, this
Were you
is
the one that
considerably more than I
expected?
imagined when
No,
we
no.
started down this path.
This is a tough crowd over here, by the way. You're speechless.
So do we need a motion to accept the report, or
No, I'd like to see the final.
okay, file first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you guys do this.
We may have some Oxford comments.
You did take a look at section 8 of the plan, because that's where it says forward.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
Something
Yeah.
fast.
Oh, yeah,
So
before we
you guys have
adopt
some
it.
responsibilities
Oh.
that I planned for you folks as well.
Thank you.
Well,
So.
again, I'd
This-
like to
this
be
is
able
the-
Before you
to,
sign this,
This is
Section 8.
Which
What
one?
page is that?
Which one of us
we're
is?
talking about the plan, and it's on
Very last
four.
page, page 4. Very
Page
bottom.
There
four.
are others that, at least one other one that I think we have the president
Ooh.
Yeah,
as a responsible
you do.
party.
And what do we have Scott doing? We'll go back
We
to the-
have,
I don't see Scott's name anywhere.
Well, it
well,
says
it's
president.
It's 412.
412.
Oh, well, I was
4.
looking at 8.
Wait, what page? Not 8?
That's on page 2 is
Yeah,
the president. It's just
Create the opportunity for the board to discuss importance of director engagement by including the item on future board agendas.
What does that mean?
That was my question.
Yeah,
General
I mean,
development
to me,
tangible.
this suggests everybody gets a chance to say their piece, and everybody gets a chance to participate in the various activities of interagency relationship building.
Well,
Collaboration.
I went to the RCD party tonight. Is that,
Oh, you did?
I did. So we were
Did you
represented there.
Did you RSVP before?
I did.
Good.
And they lost my name, but I was there anyway.
Thank you. Great.
So if that's what I understand, maybe we could tune the wording a bit, but
Yeah.
Okay.
that's what I got out of it.
Okay. Well, how about on page 4, section 8, there is, first, board consider need for additional training. or if we stay with Dwight's, the board consider additional training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the need doesn't need to be considered. I think the training should happen.
And then we have this objective of continued board development is to include orientation of new board members and periodic consideration of board governance effectiveness, including enhancing communication between board members and between the board and the general manager. The board will evaluate its own governance effectiveness, including its communication with the GM, and consider changes. So, I mean, this could be like an agenda item, let's say for, you know. It says here February 15, so we missed that opportunity. I guess we put in March.
I mean, you put the dates down, sir.
was some time ago.
But I think that could be sort of an ongoing thing too.
Well, I think
It says annual.
having a goalpost that,
Yeah,
or a milestone is important, so we actually make sure to do it.
yeah.
It's kind of like when you say who's responsible to get something done, and you
Yeah.
say everybody.
It never gets done.
Everybody means nobody.
Okay. And the last 2 points are pretty clear. We talked about this actually at the last
Yeah.
meeting, I think. Initiate discussion about selection and preparation of officers early in the year, the board agreed on that.
Yeah.
And then the last is the annual review of this plan.
So that would be February 15, 2016.
It's just a typo. This is supposed to say
Yes.
February 19th.
No,
and then we hit
no,
this
I
one.
mean,
Oh,
We
that
did
would
it.
work.
I mean, we
That's
can
true,
actually-
I like that.
That's the year. not the date.
No, let's do February 19th, and then we've done it.
Oh, February of 2015. Done.
Oh, I like that.
Done. Well, as soon as we
And that
close the
means-
item.
Review the
I've got a
strategic
gavel.
plan annually is February of 2019?
Well,
Well, you said that the other one was, anyway.
These are.
Okay,
these are
so-
just-
This is
So
month year.
how can we review a strategic plan until we voted on it? We haven't voted on it yet.
I
so-
think the February would be February 16 next year.
Yeah.
I think the next year.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
is.
that's what they-
Well, we're just doing the 0th review of the plan.
Uh,
Actually, that's true, we are reviewing it.
That's what we're doing.
Sure.
But in terms of voting for this plan, what we're really voting for is the blue and the gray, and the white is Clemens' guidelines for how he's gonna achieve that. So that's what we're really, when this is finally said and done, that the white is fluid, but the other
Yes.
ones are pretty fixed.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Good.
But I echo everyone, I think you've done an
Yeah.
excellent job on this.
Yeah.
Along with the fellow cynics around here, I too was pleasantly surprised.
Good. Well, it's actually your
It was just
plan.
for me a failure of imagination.
Yeah.
I wasn't being cynical. I just didn't imagine it would have this much good stuff in it. This is something that I'm looking forward to being able to share with our community and say, you know, this isn't just, when you look at, people come in and bring issues to us sometimes, where they're passionate about something that just doesn't seem right. They'll come to discuss it with us, and after a discussion with the board, it's very usual, normal for people to say, I didn't realize all that was involved in this. And it's been an interesting interaction, but we can't have that interaction with every single member of the community. But this may help
Help them
help
understand.
the community understand even more, and that the more they understand, the more they can come to us with recommendations and feedback that helps on various fronts in how we do this.
And-
I have spoken, I have had other people speak to me, I've sent this out as a draft, telling people, you know, let me know if you don't want to come to the meeting. And the comments that I got were, they were very interested in the parks or recreation part of this district's future. And I am glad to see it in so many different places. The other thing that I think this highlights is how easy it is for a board to say, yeah, let's do this. And then the poor general manager is going, which hour, the 23rd hour of the day or what? And so getting it in writing and as a list, particularly one that we can shift around in Excel to exactly see how we're doing on this. I mean, it would be interesting to put all the number ones together, for instance, and all the number threes together and sort of work it differently. I think it helps to understand for us, and as Scott says, for the public to understand the complexity of what this district is trying to undertake. Because we're essentially the only people elected to directly and only represent the citizens of Montara and Moss Beach. The school district has huge territory, the fire district has huge territory, the board of supervisors have huge territory. But this is where people come to us looking for local solutions. Like you said, they don't go to the board of supervisors.
Yeah. Well, Catherine, I think you got to a couple of the final points I was hoping to make, which is, one, if a new initiative comes up, whether someone wants something new like a park, or there's an emergency, or something appears that you should act on, this gives you a tool to judge how it fits in. So you can say, hey, okay, we want to do this new thing, what might we get rid of, or what might we postpone, because there's a full schedule here. Also, I think you're a very diligent style of a board, unlike some, and so I assume you'll take it seriously, but I would hope that you would all really take it seriously. This is really your direction to the district and the Clemens, and so if something doesn't happen, you should inquire about why. If something does happen, you should be pleased that you did what you said you were going to do. And I would like to suggest, this isn't really possible, but I think if people were perfect in an ideal world, which people are not, a board could give a plan like this to a diligent manager like Clemens and come back once a quarter and say, how are we doing? This really should represent the most important work you do over the course of a year, and the rest is detail. And in reality, it's the kind of detail that you don't always have to do. There's probably some things you don't have to do, and this, I just would ask you to take it. The more importantly you take it, the smoother this place will run. And you should follow up and do oversight over this. You know, how are we doing on this? You know, are you doing this? And if you're not, there's many reasons why Clemens won't be able to. But as long as you understand them and they make sense, then you can adjust around it. But with that, I think it's been fun for me. It is a very interesting and complicated district, and it's fun because of, you know, how much people love this place. And it's, you know, I live in San Jose, and you just can't love San Jose. It's just too big.
But there are the neighborhoods.
Yeah, there are neighborhoods, but it is a really.
Well, I was going to say Willow Glen. That comes readily to mind.
Yeah, but it is really different to be in a community like this. It is really nice to see the interest, people that are here, the people that come to the community meeting, your intense interest in your own community.
Yeah.
It is refreshing and very nice.
Thank you. Gosh, yeah.
Well, and I see that you're going to be working with Clemens on the newsletter and other things, and I look forward to having you help us guide, as a guide through, to be able to institute the strategic plan as an ongoing process. When I first got started in the environmental part of this community, which is what got me here, a friend of mine who had worked on a very important EIR for Montara and Moss Beach, Barry, said, oh yeah, these EIRs, you just, as a environmental scientist, you just have to get used to doing them, doing a really good report, and then you know it will sit on a shelf and gather dust.
Right, yeah.
And in fact, it was the dusty document that I pulled out and said, wait a minute, the whole county's ignoring this. And I was outraged, and I would like to see this district and the board, whoever is sitting on it, continue to work on strategic plans so we do best represent our community. And so the community knows where we're going.
Yeah, no, this should be something that you actually use.
Yeah.
Ideally, it really should.
So, we're gonna bring this back in a final version at, the next meeting for you guys to adopt this.
Okay, thank you.
And, then we still need to make a decision who is going to be on the committee that will review this. Is that, I think that's what I see what we have to do right now.
I'm happy to be on it, but I'm treasurer, so I could also see having, me not be on it, so that the treasurer incorporates this sort of into our financial review at the same time.
Would the
Yeah.
personnel committee be, the back?
That's a possibility. I mean, I think we can talk about this next session. We all should give our collective thoughts. There's all sorts of.
Can we put this off to next time?
Yeah, how do we do that? And we'll discuss it with the final vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
By the way, while we've been talking about outreach, I encourage everyone to take a look at our website. There's a lot of work that.
It looks very good.
So,
And in line with developing relations and something about energy with the county, on Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors is going to be talking about the community, what is it, the community energy. They're going to be
Yes, it's a
deciding
long-
whether or not to spend money on that study. I will attend, if you have
When
anything,
is that?
Tuesday morning.
Board of Supervisors, okay.
Tuesday morning at the Board of Supervisors. I will be there as president of the Special District Association because I want them doing outreach. Special districts use huge amounts of power. And so if they're going to be doing this, I want special districts to be able to have a vote on this as well. Or at least have it brought to our attention on a regular basis so we can choose to participate or not. So, are we done?
Oh, we have
Reports.
reports. Sewer Authority.
There's nothing really, since, we haven't had a meeting since the last meeting here, unless, Scott, you want to present
Well,
anything
you have
on?
No.
an agenda came out.
Hmm?
Susan sent out an agenda today.
Yes, we have a meeting coming up on Monday.
On Monday,
Yes.
yeah.
Midcoast
But,
Community Council,
Nothing to report.
CSDA,
Nothing to report.
CCWD and CCWD Committee Report.
I actually got an email today from Coastside County Water District. At least we have an acknowledgement that they've received our emails and that they're working on scheduling something.
Oh,
So,
good.
Did anything happen with their EIR approval with our comments? Did they just sort of, with the San Vicente Creek?
I haven't received an answer from Coastside County Water
Thank you,
District.
folks.
Bye, Martin.
Thank you
very
very
much.
much, Martin.
Yeah,
The-
no, good drive back.
Comments were transmitted before they had their special meeting, and I don't know the outcome.
Okay.
Okay. Attorney's report, none. Director's reports. General Manager's report.
Yes, we actually are now up at the Alta Vista site at the lowest elevation. We
Oh, I have to go
reached
up.
the lowest
Okay,
point
yeah.
yesterday, and it's very impressive to see how deep this actually is. We have been thinking, and this is now essentially a question to the full board, we've been thinking about essentially agendizing a special meeting on March 5th at 5 p.m. before our board meeting, where we can essentially give the board, the full board, a tour of the construction.
Great.
Yes,
up
yes,
there.
yes, yes.
So the question is now, is this time going to work for everyone?
Oh, and for the audience too.
Dark.
At 5 PM, it's not
well,
dark.
we have light until 6, that's
Yeah.
why we, it's,
Daylight savings time that following week.
even better.
Wait, let me check my,
But it's about, now it's
pad.
about scheduling a get-together up there so that the full board can actually get a presentation from the construction company and SRT and district staff.
And maybe what we ought to do is, and
March 5th, good.
I think we ought to videotape
March
that. Let's
5th.
arrange to have Steve there. I think it's very important to have, and Steve's saying, yes, he can do it.
Well, that's part of the meeting, is
Bye.
Late afternoon.
Late afternoon?
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
be fabulous.
That's
With a mobile camera, so you can walk around. It works.
Do we wear hard hats? Wear our hard
Yes,
hats?
yes, of course, safety vests and hard hat. So,
Yeah, we have those, Sam.
safety glasses.
Yeah,
yes.
shoes.
Oh, I've got the full kit.
You have
Now,
that?
do you have them in
Have
the
you got the,
fashion green instead of in
Yeah.
orange?
I've got the orange MWSD.
Well, we got something that looks greenish, yellowish.
Oh, that would be good.
Should we change the hard hat thing?
It wasn't me,
Why you got any spear writing shirts?
I'll just ride up there, so.
but I don't have
That's
it.
Okay, no, I think that'd be a great idea.
Police aren't sure even have.
So that's on the
Okay.
5th?
That will be on the 5th, so if that works.
Yeah, what time? Yeah.
5 o'clock.
I have
5 o'clock.
4 yeses so far.
Sure.
I don't know that I can commit to that. But it sounds like a wonderful opportunity, and as many of us can do it, should.
Right, and,
I mean,
and,
it would, the other choice would be another, slideshow, but I figured it's so much better to see the slide.
I mean, you just,
Well, I'd
just,
love to have it videotaped and then put on our website.
I mean, the other option you have, if you wait 2 weeks, you're on this daylight time, you got another hour.
Depends on where we are in the construction. and-
Yeah,
Let me take a look at the construction schedule.
Yeah.
If that works, and I assume it will, because I think the
Mine
next
is,
step is
yeah.
actually just working on the base
Okay.
itself. So, then we might be able to push it out a week.
Yeah, I mean, that way you might just give you the extra hour, Scott, that you can get there
I
and.
can't do it the next week, but I can do it the 5th.
Well, that will be, what is it, 13th or something?
Did out my gym pad again.
Well, the following week's.
your gym pad,
Gym pad. That's not the iPad, this is the gym pad.
your J pad.
Gym pad. What the hell do you talk about, March, what are you talking about now?
Yeah, daylight savings time happens on the 8th.
So March 12th, for example.
I can't do March 12th, I could do I could do,
What about the following week, we have the regular scheduled board meeting,
Yeah.
it would be March
19th.
19th?
19th I could do.
So are you suggesting a tour in lieu of a board meeting on the 5th?
No.
Special board meeting.
In addition to, this would be a special meeting, I mean, if we have it on a regular scheduled board meeting, let's say on the 19th, I believe the 19th, we were thinking about our workshop that, we're considering rate study,
Right,
et cetera, right?
okay. Well, then we
So
probably
that-
should try to do the earlier one, just because you're gonna run out of time.
The 5th?
Yeah, because of the scheduling of the construction.
Okay, so the 5th, 5 o'clock.
Okay, well, you're gonna be kept,
Are
in the loop.
we gonna meet you, just drive up there ourselves?
We'll arrange for this,
We
by
could
email,
carpool.
but,
Or-
I think it's better to carpool up there right now.
Yeah.
You can carpool with me, Jim, I've got a 4-wheel drive.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Either carpool or walk.
Oh, it's uphill.
Yeah,
Then
Walk
right.
that is-
good for you.
Walking down,
Oh,
Counting the flights of stairs.
walking
you
down
know,
at
I'm
night.
used to getting a lift up and then skiing down, and it's sliding down.
Okay, so Clemens, do you have anything else?
So, yeah, that was,
that's it, thanks.
all right, items for future agendas, hearing none. If there's no objection, we are adjourned.
But I will go out and get the oranges I brought, but